2023 is over and a new year has begun. You probably have a whole list of New Year's resolutions, such as going to the gym and shrinking that inner tube, which has gotten more enormous thanks to all the Christmas cooking you shoved down your pie hole. And you probably swore to treat your family and friends a lot better. Well, you can add one more New Year's resolution to your list. Hi, SA here, and when I'm not sounding like a complete knucklehead on the computer, I'm also a published author, and I have a deal for you. Remember to get your copy of Glitch, a precarious duo, and its sequel, Glitch, The Future is Unwritten. You can get them on either Kindle or paperback. Both are available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other fine bookstores. The links are down below in the description. You will enjoy this crime thriller tale of a kidnapped teen model and a reluctant jewel thief who are on the run from the law while on the treadmill at the gym. And I'm not just some one-hit wonder either. I have more books coming down the pike, so as long as I don't die in my sleep. Stuart? Stuart? You'll see those other books too. Now let's get back to the video. Hello again. SA here. Have you ever heard of the little Dutch boy? The one who supposedly stuck his finger in the dike to stop the dike from leaking? I remember hearing that story as a kid. Thought it was funny because I thought, yeah, what happens if the kid has to go take a leak himself? Yeah, you got to take his finger out of the dike, right? Yeah, I don't think too many people can do it one-handed. At least not when I was a kid. Yeah, well, what if you have more than one leak and you run out of fingers? Then what do you do? Yeah, well, about 24 hours ago, guess it was about 24 hours ago, incident happened in northern Iraq, Abril. Yeah, you probably can find it on a map if you look hard enough. Anyway, there's an American consulate there. Nothing fancy. Has an American flag and American staffers inside. Well, within proximity of that building, there was another building. And according to the Ayatollahs of rock and rolla, it was Mossad station. Was it? Don't know for sure because Mossad ain't talking. Well, anyway, the Iranians bombed the building, blew it up. And then you say, why? Well, you could say just out of general spite, since the people in Tehran and the people in Tel Aviv don't get along much. But then other people said the real reason was because the Israelis killed one of their generals who just happened to be in Damascus. And then you probably say, oh, well, those two, they always are bitch slapping each other. Who cares? Yeah, well, the thing is, it wasn't just because that general was killed. Apparently, it also had to do with a bombing that occurred in Iran involving General Soleimani. Now, of course, if you've been paying attention, you say, wasn't that guy killed like a few years ago by Trump? Yeah, he was. But the thing is, they scraped up what was left of his body and gave him a nice Iranian funeral, and they built a little tomb for him. And when the people were celebrating, or perhaps maybe commemorating his death, some ISIS SOB decided to blow up a couple of bombs amongst the crowd. Killed about 80 people. So then you say, what does that do with us? Well, quite a bit, actually. Since we're basically the wet nurse for the Israelis. Yeah. And more than a few people at first thought that the Iranians were bombing our consulate, which they weren't. But the way things are going in the Middle East right now, that situation could change. Because anyone who's been paying attention to what's been going down there in Yemen tells you that they got a full-scale Donnybrook going on down there between the American Navy and the damn Houthis. Now, of course, most people probably only have a cursory idea about who these Houthi guys are. But they are basically the remnants of the Houthi rebellion that went against the long-standing dictatorship used to be down there in Yemen. A dictatorship that most of the part fell apart. Because I think, if I remember correctly, the guy who used to be down there, he got overthrown. When Trump was in office. And at first, there was no one really in charge. And therefore, a fight broke out between the Houthis and Al-Qaeda. And you say, well, so what? If people want to kill each other, go right ahead. Well, the thing is, the Americans, for some unknown reason, didn't want the Houthis in charge of Yemen. Why? Because they were friends with the Ayatollahs in Iran. So then we partnered up with some of the worst people in the world, namely Al-Qaeda and Saudi Arabia. Now, of course, at this point, you say, well, don't these people in the Middle East say my enemy is my friend? Yeah, they say that. But still, partnering up with Al-Qaeda to fight the Houthis because the Houthis are friends with the Iranians? Yeah. Sounds like bad karma all the way around. But anyway, this video is not really so much about what's going on down there in the Red Sea, where the Houthis are firing off drones and missiles and blowing up American flag ships. Not Navy ships, mind you, but cargo vessels. And then the Americans retaliate by throwing cruise missiles and damn JDAMs into downtown Sana and blowing up the damn people right out of their flip-flops. No, this is about how it seems to be all falling apart. And you say, what's falling apart? Well, it depends who you ask. Because smart people, have always said that the United States is always a republic. And I agree. Now, of course, some knuckleheads say, oh, we're a democracy, but that's technically not true. We are a republic, a representative democracy, but basically a federal republic. That's what the United States is. However, there's a few characters, like the American Enterprise Institute, the Dick Cheney crowd, who says that America is actually an empire. Now you say, what kind of empire? Because there's been empires throughout human history. You had the damn Hittite Empire, the Assyrian Empire, the damn Roman Empire. And then, of course, you had empires afterwards, like the Spanish Empire, the English Empire, the French Empire, the Russian Empire, the Japanese Empire, and on and on and on. So what kind of empire is America? Now, some people say, aren't we similar to like the Roman Empire? Well, we do have a Senate like Rome, but we don't have emperors, even though some people claim that Richard Milhouse was an imperial president, but he didn't have a job for life. So there you go. If anything, we're more like closer to the English Empire, because the English, they always consider themselves a benevolent empire. And you say benevolent? How empire be benevolent? Well, initially, when you look at English imperial history, yeah, they would send their armies into places like Africa or India or in China, whatever, take over a piece of real estate, subjugate the people initially, but then they would introduce them to English law and English rules, and in some cases, English wardrobes. So there you go. And indeed, at the height of the British Empire, around the 1890s, around 1900, the British had a term called Pax Britannia, means peace British style. But of course, as Francis Urquhart from House of Cards, the original version, not talking about the Kevin Spacey version, okay? And I have to admit, the British version of House of Cards is way better. So all you people out there who are Kevin Spacey fans, I don't want to rain on your parade, but you need to watch the original British House of Cards. Believe me, it is very scintillating and very enjoyable and very, very smartly written. Very smartly written. But anyway, in the House of Cards, Francis Urquhart famously says that nothing lasts forever. That the most glittering, most beautiful reign must come to an end someday. And indeed, within 50 years, around middle 20th century, the British Empire was basically kaput, gone, finished. But for a while there, it was Peace Britannica. In other words, the British Royal Navy sailed the seven seas, and the British, for the most part, was the world policeman. Every time something would pop up, whether it be Napoleon or the or the Crimean War, the first Crimean War, the English were there to try to stamp things out. And indeed, during the First World War, yeah, it was the English that basically led the charge against the Central Powers when they basically declared war against Russia. Yeah, you can look it up. In fact, I remember there was a great book. My father had that book. It was called The Guns of August. Talked about how it was all those Europeans mumbled and stumbled their way into a war that didn't have to happen. But yeah, the damn stupid Franz Ferdinand, not the band, the real guy, gets himself shot by a Serbian. The damn Austrians are pretty pissed about that. They want the man's head that did the killing. The Serbians said no, and then the Russians, who were friends of the Serbians, backed them up. And then, of course, the Kaiser, Wilhelm, the guy with the funny mustache, he then backs up the Austrians. And before you could say Joe Blow, everyone's declaring war on each other. And then, of course, the English then stepped in and said that since Russia is our ally, I guess we have to protect them. And there you go. Well, anyway, what happened during the First World War like is about to happen again. And you say, what? Yeah. Because just like during the First World War, one small little spark caused a whole big Donnybrook to just cause the whole damn world order to fly apart at the seams. Because people tend to forget nowadays that when the First World War ended, the world had changed. Because a lot of the European powers that were there at the beginning of the war weren't there at the end of the war. For example, the Ottoman Turks, they went kaput at the end of the war. So did the Austro-Hungary Empire. It went kaput. And the German Empire, yeah, it went kaput too. And the Tsarist Empire, Nicholas II, he and all his lovely daughters got shot in the head by the damn Bolsheviks. And their empire was gone too. So then you say, well, how does that apply to what's going on right now? Well, the English, despite their best efforts, couldn't maintain the peace. People wanted to fight. And even though the English thought they were trying to stop the fighting, they got sucked into it. Sort of like a quagmire. Well, it looks like it's about to happen again. Except this time, it's America's about to be sucked into a quagmire. Quagmire in the Middle East. Because right now, we're sitting there attacking these damn people in Yemen. The people in Yemen are fighting back. The people of Yemen are allied with the damn people, the Ayatollahs. The Ayatollahs are shooting damn missiles at the damn Israelis. The Israelis are sitting there dropping bombs on Iranian generals. And then you have the damn Israelis in a Donnybrook with the damn people in Hamas in the damn Gaza Strip. And of course, since we're allies with the Israelis, we have to back them up. See the analogy? And then people are sitting there worried about the damn mess in Ukraine, getting our panties all in the knot. I think what's going on in the Middle East is far more dangerous, way more dangerous. Because all we need is one knucklehead to push a button on one missile, and that missile lands in the wrong spot, and then the whole damn place is going to blow up. And because we have treaty obligations with the damn Israelis, we gotta come in on their side no matter what happens. Problem is, the damn Israelis, let's just say this, they never learned how to live peaceably with their neighbors. And unfortunately, because they always have the United States to back them up, they tend to act recklessly, do crazy things, do stupid things. Like, for example, during the Syrian Civil War, which didn't involve them, they had a habit of flying their Air Force into Lebanese airspace and be firing off missiles into Syria. Why? I have no idea. And then, of course, back when Obama was president, the Israelis had a habit of kidnapping Iranian officials, generals, scientists, and torturing them, trying to find what they know, and sometimes killing them. No joke. In fact, there was a real notorious incident where the Israelis kidnapped some Iranian general when he was vacationing in Turkey, and supposedly the Turks were in on it, and the guy got dragged back to Israel, and they put the thumb screws to the guy trying to find out what he knew about the Iranian nuclear program. And the guy died of a heart attack, allegedly. And for a good few years, the Iranians thought the guy had defected. So there you go. And then, of course, the damn Israelis didn't stop there. They then hired a bunch of goombas to run around Tehran putting damn sticky bombs on various Iranian scientists' cars, blowing them up. Did it multiple times. But of course, the Iranians, for the most part, kept their cool. They didn't go flying off at the handle. But now, I think things have changed. Why? I don't know. Because I think it may have been what happened with Soleimani. Because when Soleimani got murdered, let's not pretend, okay, he did get murdered by the American military. The Iranians got really hopping mad, and they fired a bunch of missiles into one of our military bases in Iraq. How many Americans did it kill? Strangely enough, didn't. Why? Well, not for lack of trying. I guess God was looking out for us, for those soldiers. But we may not be so lucky next time. Because right now, the way things are just de-evolving, it looks like Pax Americana, as these neocons would call it, is about to fall apart. Just the way Pax Britannica fell apart in the 20th century. And you say, well, maybe we should stay out of it. Yeah, logic says we should. But unfortunately, we don't have good leaders right now in the DC Beltway. I mean, people like Victoria Nuland, old Sleepy Joe, Mr. Rotten Balls himself, Lloyd Austin, and all the other boys in the band over there at the State Department. I mean, we do not have good leaders. Indeed, just a few hours ago, Jesse Waters, yeah, that goofy guy, he said that old Sleepy Joe was facing a full-scale mutiny by the deep state. And you say, over what? Israel. And you say, you're full of beans. No joke. You can look it up yourself. It's on the Fox News website. I couldn't believe it myself. They said that the only thing that stopped the mutiny was that because it was like damn a blizzard going on in Washington, D.C., the federal government called a snow day. And you say, a snow day for federal workers? Yeah. But the stupid thing is, if it wasn't a snow day, if we were living in June instead of January, you would have seen a walkout not by likely hundreds of federal employees complaining about American support for Israel. And what's their beef about it? Well, they think that we shouldn't. Now, of course, there are some people out there who probably have their reasons. But according to Jesse Waters, the real reason is most of these people tend to be a bunch of woke leftists who see the damn people in Tel Aviv as colonizers, and that Hamas is not a terrorist group but a resistance organization. And I'm thinking, yep. Apparently someone in the HR department needs to be fired at these damn federal agencies, so they're clearly not hiring good people. Hiring a bunch of woke knuckleheads right out of these damn universities like Brown and Vassar. And now these people are trying to stage a revolt inside the damn federal government over this issue. Yeah. I guess when they talk about protecting I guess when they talk about the oath of the presidency, where it says to protect the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Yeah, I guess those founding fathers probably knew what they were talking about. But yeah. And a lot of smart people. Like, for example, the institution of war. Yeah, a real institution. Mostly neocon knuckleheads, but it exists. Now they're saying that the whole damn Ukraine war was a mistake. And I'm thinking, oh, really? Now you say so. 2 years in. But then again, of course, those Greek brothers of the Duran, they said why. Because apparently when this mess started, these people made a mistake, thinking that the Russia of the 2020s was like the same Russia of like 1991-92. Broken down, broke, miserable, and basically can't find their own asses without a Rand McNally road atlas and a GPS system. And even someone like me who can't even speak Russian, except maybe Das Ladanya, I could have told them that. But these knuckleheads, I guess they were believing their own BS, believing their own propaganda. And they basically talked themselves into a damn proxy war against one of the most dangerous countries on the planet. And they somehow thought that they were going to beat them on the battlefield in a nose-to-nose, toe-to-toe fight. That wasn't going to happen. And now these knuckleheads at the Institute of War are now saying that, whoopsie, we made a mistake. And the damn Greek brothers at Duran.com said, well, guess what? This airplane's in a tailspin, you know they can pull it out. And when it hits the ground, that's going to be the end of Ukraine. Because there's no talking to the people in Moscow. Because they're hell-bent on doing what they're going to do to finish this. And what does finishing that mess in Ukraine mean? It's probably not going to be pretty for the Ukrainians, that's for sure. But anyway, according to the brothers at Duran.com, this Institute for War said that if the Russians win this war, and they likely will win, it will be a strategic failure for the United States and the collective West. And, wait for it, this is the best part. Then, this Institute of War, according to the brothers of Duran, said one step further. They said that in order to protect NATO from a resurgent, rearmed, and let's just say a Russia that's like really, really pissed, the United States will likely have to spend more money than it currently has to build a whole Cold War era army to protect NATO from Russia. And you say, well, if they did it once, they could do it again, right? Well, maybe if we had an economy that wasn't all broken down and miserable. Thank you, Joe Biden. But the thing is, our economy is pretty damn hurt. Real messed up. And according to this Institute of War, the cost of building that kind of army in the 2020s is going to be a lot more than it was, like, say, in the 1970s and 80s. And even then, during the 80s, during Reagan's time, the American government ran a $200 billion budget. And you say, well, that doesn't sound like a whole lot. Yeah, maybe not now, but back then in the 80s, $200 billion budget deficit, that was a lot of money. And I remember people criticizing Reagan for pissing away that kind of money, building bombs and bullets, just to play patty cake with the Soviets. But this thing here is different. You're not dealing with the Soviets, you're dealing with modern Russia. And modern Russia, even though the country is about half the size of the old Soviet Union, their army is probably the most fine-tuned, dangerous, unbelievably technically sophisticated army that currently exists. And, wait for it, you ready? The current Russian army, as it currently stands, is bigger than the current American army as it currently stands. No joke, you can look it up. Yeah, because our army has shrunk. In fact, some people, smart people, said that the American army currently as it stands is about the same size the American army was back in the 1930s. And that army was pretty small. In fact, I think it had like less than 200,000 soldiers. Yeah. And why is that? Because no one's signing up to be in our woke army. Yeah. I mean, do you want to sign up to join an army where they're having a drag queen story hour, where they're having damn people with their pronouns in their bios, with and Z, because they're gender fluid? I mean, do you want your commanding officers wearing lipstick and high heel shoes? Except they got cock and balls in their damn in their uniform. I mean, really, dude? And then of course all that diversity, equity, inclusion nonsense, where they're sitting there uh, giving people who promotions, giving them stars that maybe they shouldn't have because they probably didn't earn them. I mean, you want to join an army like that? Apparently, most people don't, especially an army that's going around claiming that white men is the problem. And I'm thinking, excuse me, have you looked at the American Army, at least back when George W. was there? Most of the people in the American Army were white men. And you're sitting there, all these woke idiots with these diversity hires talking about, oh, we don't want white men in the Army because white men's the problem. Well, guess what? You keep saying that loud enough and long enough, you're not going to get any white men to join your American Army. And then you're surprised why the American Army shrunk. But yeah, this Institute for War, they said that, yeah, the American Army will have to grow at least the size to at least the same size it was back when Reagan was there. And at the time, I think the American Army was about 2.5 million soldiers. But then, this is the part that I love. According to brothers at Duran.com, this a white paper that came out of the Institute of War said that because of NATO expansion since the 1980s, NATO has now more real estate to protect than it did back then, which means the American Army would like to have to be bigger than it was back in the 80s. And that would cost a lot of money. And wait for it, this is the part I love, because the brothers at Rand.com, they mentioned this. They said that the United States will have to use its finite stealth resources to not only to protect NATO, the expanded NATO, because you got like all those Scandinavian countries there, Finland and Sweden and whatnot, and of course those Baltic states, which are about the size of LA County. Those countries are so small. They said that it will likely leave a deficit for American treaty obligations in the Pacific. Yeah, because we got treaty obligations with Japan and South Korea against it, and against and Taiwan, even though it's not spoken about much. From the Chinese. And the brothers at the Duran said that this is a disaster for this whole damn mess. This whole Ukraine Donnybrook was a mess. It's a complete disaster, a strategic disaster for the United States and the collective West, because these people had wasted so much time and resources trying to win a war that they couldn't win, that now these neocon knuckleheads that led them down the primrose path are now saying, oh no, if we lose this war in Ukraine, then that we will have to spend oodles of money that we don't have to spend to build a massive army to protect us from really angry Russians. And because we have now expanded NATO with damn near, 30 countries? And God knows how many square miles of real estate? The United States will likely end up might bankrupt itself for sure. And what does that sound like? Anyone who's really smart, who knows history, knows what that sounds like. It sounds like the old Soviet Union under Gorbachev. And you say, what? Yeah, look it up. Because when Gorbachev was the Soviet president, the Soviet Union would spend most of its money on bombs and bullets. Yeah, I remember seeing that story because Peter Jennings used to be ABC News. He had that great report. This was back during Reagan's second term. said that the Soviets, according to CIA estimates, were spending somewhere between 30 and 40% of their entire GNP on weapons. Why? Paranoid, I suppose. I mean, those guys had been invaded more than once throughout their history by some of the most, evil, dangerous people on earth. Like Napoleon and Hitler. So there you go. But yeah, those Ruskies end up spending themselves into the poorhouse trying to protect themselves from the Americans and NATO. So now the script is now flipped. Now we could very look at a situation where we could end up be spinning ourselves into the poorhouse, protecting ourselves from a really super angry Russia. And to top things off, we have treaty obligations in the Pacific that we won't be able to cover because we just don't have enough, was a cliche, enough chess pieces on the board to move around. So yeah, to anyone who is capable of strategic thinking, like Douglas McGregor, he'll tell you right away. It looks like the entire American imperial project is falling apart. It's all falling apart. It's all coming apart at the seams. It's like that little Dutch boy sticking his fingers in all the holes in the dike, and he doesn't have enough fingers for all the holes. And of course, you know what happens next. The dike collapses. Only question is, how long is it going to take? Is it going to happen this week, next month, next year, or tomorrow? I don't know. It makes you worried about the future. Because during the First World War, people were worried about big armies and artillery duels across no man's land. But with modern weapons, and we're not just talking about those hypersonic Kinzhal missiles flying across the sky at damn near 12,000 miles an hour. We're talking about really evil weapons, like biogenetic weapons. You say, what the hell is that? Well, you remember the COOF, right? Well, right now, according to the brothers Clayton Morris over there redacted, those damn stupid people in China have made a truly evil version of COVID. And you say, those clowns didn't learn their lesson? Apparently they didn't. But according to Clayton, they made a new version of COVID that's 100% fatal. No joke. In fact, according to the Chinese report, they were translated from Mandarin to English. They said that they tried it on a bunch of mice, and it said it killed all of them. And it said it turned their eyes white, like something out of a zombie film. And I'm thinking, why the hell those people do something like that? The only presumption is one. They're planning to make it, turn it into a bioweapon. That way, when the shit hits the fan, they probably gonna put that brand new version of COVID either in the nose cone of a rocket, or if they're clever, probably give it to a bunch of birds and let them fly migratory over enemy territory and infect everyone there and kill everybody. No joke. Yep. Don't want to sound like doom and gloom broom, but yeah. Unlike the First World War, I think when the dike finally breaks this time, it's going to be a whole lot worse. Much worse. Apocalyptic. Yep. That's goddamn right. Well, that's all I have say about the potential for the end of a Pax Americana and the potential arrival of doomsday. And that's my opinion.